So if you're dealing with a teenager who suddenly rejects everything you've taught them, or if you're struggling with the balance between giving independence and maintaining boundaries, this confession explores why the parent-child relationship must fracture and how understanding this transforms everything. Okay, hey, this is Francisca, and this is my mid-crisis life, and today is Crisis Confessionals. So I'm actually moving house at the moment, and I'm moving house this weekend, and it is mental, so I'm going to try and keep this nice and short and sweet. Like that's a skill that I have. I don't have that skill, but I'm going to try. All right, so today I want to talk about teenagers. So, anyone who has a teenager or has had a teenager and has gone through this phase of parenting, then yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Anyone who, I don't know, is in this phase at the moment and struggling with what to do, then I know you're going to feel my pain. Anyone who's not quite there yet, prepare yourself. And anyone that is like in this stage or young enough to remember this stage, seriously, fuck you. Fuck you. Like, suck yourself, fucking assholes. So I am the parent of a teenager. Yay. And I also obviously have already been through this process before, right? So I've got a son who's 21. He's well out of that teenage stage. But what I would say with him is that because of his brain condition and all the rest of it, he went through these stages quite late. He had some developmental delays, right? So it took him to get to like 16 and a half, nearly 17, for him to be like, you know what, mum? Fuck you. Yeah. Fuck you and all the shit you go on about. Fuck you and your hypocritical, philosophical crap. Yeah. You don't stand by anything that you don't live by anything that you preach, right? I'm done listening to you. Fuck you, right? And I remember when it happened, it being just the most painful and heartbreaking and infuriating thing that my son could possibly ever say to me, right? And I remember just at the time having this real strong sense of feeling like, fuck me, yeah? Fuck, all right. How about fuck you then? How about fuck everything that I've ever done for you? You know what? Yeah, you can just fuck off and die. Why don't you move out? Why don't you leave? I ain't got time for this. I ain't got time for your issues and your this and your that. And I was just so incensed. I was so angry that I really just wanted to just completely reject him. And I'm really lucky because at the time I was studying for my master's in psychotherapy, and we had to go to these personal development groups where basically you just went and you sat and you spoke about the things that were going on in your life and allowed other people in and allowed other people to reflect upon these things and all the rest of it. And I mentioned this because I was incensed. I was livid. I was so angry. And I remember my tutor saying to me, isn't that such a good thing? And I remember like thinking, you supercilious, sanctimonious prick, what do you mean it's a good thing? And he was like, isn't it such a good thing that your son is moving away from you, that he's asserting his own independence, that he's becoming an autonomous individual enough to say, fuck you, mum, I don't want to deal with you anymore, I don't believe in anything that you believe in. And that was such a, I don't know, like such a poignant perspective to be placed in front of me at that point in time. It really made me think a lot, and it really changed the way that I saw what he was going through to a really positive thing. And it really made me feel like, you know what? Actually, he's right on track. He's exactly where he's supposed to be. Never mind about how it makes me feel. Never mind how rejected I feel, how heartbroken I feel, how, I don't even know what the word is. Like, just, I felt surplus to requirements, and I felt like everything that I'd ever done was for nothing, was for naught. And it really made me reflect on how precarious a process that is for both parents and teenagers. And I remember when I was a teenager, I remember going through that stage, and yeah, it happened earlier. I wasn't 16 and a half before I finally got a backbone or got some balls or finally called my mum out for the hypocrite that she was or whatever, right? All that angst and all the rest of it that was going on for me as a teenager. But I remember very squarely my mum completely rejecting me at that point. And being a parent going through it for the first time, it really made me realize, oh, right, I understand why you did what you did, mum. Like, I understand how painful and heartbreaking it is for this person that you've raised and you've poured everything that you can do into. Because I always say every parent gives 100%, even if actually what that equates to is like 10%. It doesn't matter, right? They're giving 100% of what they've got. To pour all of that into someone, and then for that someone to turn around one day and just be like, fuck you. Like, who are you? Like, I don't want anything to do with you or your rules or your ideals or your philosophy on life. Like, that's really, really hurtful. It really hurts. And it was the first time that I really looked at my mum and said, oh, okay, cool. I understand why you responded the way that you did, why you weren't able to hold me emotionally or practically or financially or whatever, right, during that time because of all of the pain that you were going through from being completely rejected by your child. And the thing is this, right, is that it's imperative that these mini fractures start happening throughout adolescence. And I say it all the time, and I'm sure I've said it on another video, but I'll say it again. Your child needs to fracture from you. The relationship needs to fracture. Otherwise, you'll be one of those parents where your child is like 35 and still living at home with you as if they're a child, not like someone who's like an equal partner and you're kind of like, cohabiting, because I know that needs to happen at the moment, especially in London. You can't move out of homes because you need 90 grand as a deposit. Ridiculous. But anyway, it's another issue. But if the relationship doesn't fracture, there's no impetus for that human being to say, you know what? I can't stay here. I can't be here. I can't be a part of this. Like, I can't live in this household under this regime anymore. It's too much, right? And I think that experience really helped me, right, to recognize not just what I was going through, but the necessity of that entire process. That unfortunately our relationship does have to fracture and that it's just a part of the process and that actually he was exactly where he was supposed to be. So here I am again with another teenager, fucking teenagers. And I have a child who is 14 and a half, who is very advanced for his age, very emotionally mature, very intelligent, very articulate, very aware, because I raised him to be that way, great, who's now aware of how much of a dickhead I am, right? So my 14 and a half year old went out for the first time, the other day. He's not 14 and a half, he's 14 and 3/4. He went out the other day for the first time with friends, right? And I'm always like, get out the house, like, get a life. Why you just sat here all the time, like on your computer in your room, like some sort of reclused hermit? Go out of the house, go out, yeah? Touch grass or whatever they call it, right? So he decided he was going out with his friends, to me, a girl, with his friends, right, the other day. This child, walked in, he was staying at my mum's, walked into my mum's house at 1:45. 1:45, people. 1:45. I was just like, are you taking the fucking piss? You're taking the piss. And his phone had been robbed, so he didn't have a phone. And I told him, you check in with me, you let me know what's going on. For the last hour and a half, I had been calling his friend's phone. And you call someone's phone and it rings like very slightly and then goes through to voicemail. I'm like, you've blocked me. Like, I'm not stupid. Like, I understand how technology works. Like, I'm not a boomer. Like, I get it. Trying to call his friend, leaving messages, all the rest of it. So I'm getting more and more and more wound up because I'm like, dude, you're taking absolute piss. Like, you're taking the piss. Anyway, he gets home, strolls in, calls me up in the most nonchalant manner. Like, oh yeah, hey mum, yo, I'm home. You good? Am I good? No, I'm not fucking good, mate. It's 1:45. And he's like, oh, well, there was some kerfuffle on the transport. And as soon as he said it, I was like, bullshit. I call bullshit. I smell bullshit. It's bullshit. There was no kerfuffle on the fucking train. Do you know how many times I've used that excuse? Like, oh, well, I left on time, but the bus didn't come and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not dumb. Like, I get it. This child was the most indignant child that I could possibly imagine dealing with. For a child who walked in at 1:45 and then tried to lie blatantly to my face, he was like, well, if you're not even going to listen to me, then I don't really know that I should listen to you. And what am I apologising for? I'm apologising for being late. Was it my fault? Was it my fault? No, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't even my fault. I don't even know what you're talking about, mum. Yeah, this is your issue. You've got issues. And then proceeded to tell me about what all my issues were. So anyway, I was like, all right, cool. I'm done with this conversation, yeah? You've lost all your shit, yeah? When you come home, everything is gone. Good luck. Have fun next week. Not going out, not doing nothing, sitting in your room. I'll give you a book. How about that, yeah? So anyway, he comes home and continues on with the same indignant attitude. I'd written him a letter because I'm tired of repeating myself. So I decided the other day I'm just going to write him letters. Just like, no, you can't have your phone back. Stop asking. There you go. And just pin it to his wall every single morning. So I wrote him a letter. And in this letter, I was talking about, my thoughts and my feelings and, my expectations and all the rest of it. But, everything that I had tried to entrust him with. I got home because I went to the football. And I was like, did you read the letter? No. I ripped it up because I can't read your writing. I was like, well, you best go fish it out the bin, and put it back together. Here's some tape. He said to me, can't you just repeat it? No, I'm not repeating it. I spent time and energy writing that letter. You better go find it and you better piece it back together. So anyway, he's very angrily shifting bits of paper around to try and puzzle out this message that I'd written to him. He's like, I can't read it. All right, cool, I'll read it to you. So I read him the letter. As I was reading this letter, he got more and more and more angry, more and more incensed that I had the audacity, right, to say these things to him. Basically, what the letter said is it said, I don't know why you're behaving like every other teenager. I'm paraphrasing. It didn't say specifically this, but basically, I don't know why you're behaving like every other teenager. It's really unoriginal. And now you're making me behave like every other adult, which is really unoriginal, yeah? I was saying, essentially, you've really disrespected the adults around you. It's not okay to leave people waiting up until nearly midnight, not knowing where you are, not knowing if you're okay. It's not okay to leave your 70-something-year-old grandmother waiting up until midnight for you to come into the house. And then it's not okay to be indignant about it when you get home. What I was explaining to him in that letter was that the reason that I don't treat you like every other teenager, like every other child, like all of your friends who have to lie and have to cheat and have to sneak around in order to get what they want and turn their phones off and ignore their parents and all the rest of it. The reason I don't treat you like that is because I believe and I trust that I've endowed enough wisdom into you, enough emotional intelligence into you for you to make good decisions, for you to make good decisions that consider other people when you're making those decisions. You've made a litany of poor decisions in everything that you've done, right? If you cannot step up and be mature in the way that I know that you can while you're out, then I'm going to have to start micromanaging you in the way that all of your friends get micromanaged. And that's not going to be fun for you, right? Anyway, he was very angry about this letter because how dare I? I was like, all right, cool. I'm done talking to you because I'm not going to have a conversation with someone who is continuing to be disrespectful. But here's the thing. This is the thing that I love about my son, right? Is that he calmed down and an hour later he came outside and he approached me. Mum, listen, can we talk? So he tells me everything, blah, 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 blah. And he's honest. Look, I'll be honest with you. I didn't leave at the time that I said that I was going to leave. I left at the time that I should have been home. And I did lie to you about it. And I really did want to call you. But my friend kept saying, don't call your mum because you're going to be in loads of trouble. And I listened to him rather than other people. And I do really appreciate the leeway and the respect that you give me to make my own decisions and to make my own mistakes. That was a mistake, and I apologize. The thing that I'd been thinking about once I'd calmed down was I was thinking, okay, he doesn't have a phone. And I know for a fact that if my son had his own phone, he would surreptitiously, very quietly in the corner, just send me a text message. Hey, mum, listen, I've stayed too late. I'm really sorry. We're leaving late, but I'm just letting you know that I'm safe. I'm getting on the bus in 5 minutes. I'll let you know when I get home. I'll let you know if there's any problems, right? But because he didn't have that phone, he didn't want to be the person to say to his friends, oh, hi, I need to text my mum and let her know where I am. So can I have your phone in order to do that? Because he didn't want to lose face, right? He's trying to be super cool or whatever, right? And I said that to him. And he was like, yeah, you're right. I don't want to do that. But I was talking to him about the fact of like, the whole point, Cows, of having integrity and being responsible and being mature is that you do it, whatever the weather, that I believe that you are mature enough to be the guy that says, I don't really care what you think. Like, I'm going to text my mum because if I don't text my mum, I'm going to be in trouble. If I text her, I know everything's going to be gravy. Everything's going to be fine. Like, but I just need to let her know what's going on. And I don't really care what you think. And if you're around people that judge and ridicule you for that behavior, then you're going to know that sooner rather than later. And these are not the kind of people that you want to be around, because every time you're around them, now you need to change who you are. Now you need to be that other person. Now you need to make poor decisions, right? So why would you want to be around them if that's only going to beget more problems for you, right? And then me and you are just going to be at each other's throats and arguing the whole time. So we had a whole conversation about that. But the other thing that I spoke to him about was this. Now, there's loads of psychologists that talk about stages of human development, right? You've got Freud, you've got Erik Erikson, you've got Piaget, Bowlby, whatever, right? And they've all got different names and different ideologies of what is happening at each stage of human development, right? I've got my own theory of human development, right? And I honestly just feel like from 14 to 24, it's the dickhead stage. Just forget it, right? Your child is not going to be who you think they are. They're not going to follow any of the guidance that you've previously set for them. They're going to reject everything because the relationship has to fracture. They have to find their own selves. They have to be autonomous. And what does autonomous mean? It means being different to everything that you've been before, being different to everything that you've learned to be, everything that you've taught to be, all of the values that your parents hold dear. You're going to reject them because you're your own person, right? And you've got your own way of thinking, and you're not some little puppet that your mum can just move around. And anyway, she doesn't even live by anything, right? This is what it is. So I understand that between those ages, it's kind of like a lost cause. They're not themselves. They're not who they're going to be. And then by the time they're 24, they come back to the things that you taught them from like 0 to 7, basically, right? But what I also know that's happening specifically in the adolescent stage is that there is this pull between rights and responsibility. Teenagers, they want a lot of rights. They want the right to be able to choose, to do, to be independent, to go where they want to go, to live how they want to live, to make the mistakes that they want to make because they feel like they know, right? They've come out of that childhood stage and they've learned enough, they've seen enough, they know what's going on, they know what life's about, they need to make their mistakes. And the thing is that they do need to make their mistakes because that's how they actually learn how to be an adult, right? So they want all their rights. but not a lot of responsibility that comes with those rights. So they want the right to make the mistake, but not necessarily the responsibility of what happens, the consequences, the natural consequences of those mistakes, right? They still want to be held and they want to be protected and all the rest of it, right? Because they're still children. So there's this constant like battle going on between parent and child within themselves of rights and responsibility. And I'm always saying this to my son. He knows this. So we spoke about it. And he is aware enough to be able to see, yeah, that's definitely what's going on. Like, I do want a lot of my rights. I do want to do what I want to do, but I don't want a lot of responsibility. So even things like recently, I'm like, get yourself up for school, get yourself to school, because this child has been dropped to school for so many years of his life. If you're late, that's your business. I'm not waking you up. Sort out your own homework. Get yourself home. Get yourself to training, because you know what? If you want to do it and that's where you want your life to go, then you need to make the commitment. The commitment needs to come from you. I can't be more committed to getting you to training into football matches than you are to getting yourself to training into football matches, right? So we're going through all of that as well. So we were talking about this idea of rights and responsibilities. And I think for me as a parent, it's about understanding that balance. I do want him to have the right to choose, but I do want him to have enough responsibility to choose the right thing or to take responsibility for when he's made mistakes. And then I do want him to have responsibility that's going to help him grow, that's going to help him adjust to being an adult and being responsible for himself. But I don't want that responsibility to be so overwhelming that he just runs, right? That he just runs from it. So we made a decision. I said, okay, look, I think what I'm going to do is, like, I've dumped a lot on you in a very short space of time, all in the last couple of weeks. You're just kind of like getting used to being back at school. You're in your GCSE years. School are, compounding all of this with more work, more independent learning, all the rest of it, right? So let me take a couple of things off of your shoulders, right? Because I don't want things, as I say, to be so overwhelming that you just throw everything away, right? And I think the thing is that in making that decision, in understanding that balance, what I always go back to is a very, very simple thing. I just think, what values am I trying to teach? Simple as that. What are the main core values that I think are imperative for an individual to be able to not just survive, but to be able to thrive in this life? So for me, integrity. And there's so much that comes under integrity, being honest, being consistent, being knowing what your rights are, knowing what your responsibilities are, and doing them all the time, right? So I think integrity is such an important thing to have. I think emotional intelligence for yourself and for others. So that's like, understanding your own behaviors, your own thoughts, your own feelings, why you do the things that you do, understanding the deeper reason that you're not just doing it because it's a reaction, that maybe there's something that needs clearing or looking at inside of you, being compassionate to other people, forgiving, understanding that stuff happens, shit happens, like people get angry, people make mistakes, people say things that they don't mean, right? Being able to not be I don't know, like not wallow in any of that, both for yourself and for others, right? Seeing everything is it just is what it is, right? Being able to recognize when something isn't just what it is and it's actually a repeated pattern of either someone abusing you or you abusing yourself. I mean, there's other things, right, that I think are really important, but I'm not going to list them all now. But what I do is I go back to those core fundamental values. What am I trying to teach my child? And if the thing that I'm doing as a parent, the thing that I'm punishing, the thing that I'm taking away, the thing that I'm enforcing doesn't actually promote those values, then I just fucking let it go. I let it go. Because the issue with Callum staying out was not that he stayed out. It wasn't that he broke the rules. It wasn't that he didn't do as he was told. Like, it wasn't any of that teenage stuff, right? That's pretty par for the course. It's standard. It doesn't really bother me at all, right? Break the rules, make mistakes, all the rest of it. Go for it. That's what you're supposed to be doing, yeah? It was that he had no care or thought for the other people in his life. The only thing he was thinking about at that time was himself, that he wanted to stay out, that he didn't want to get into trouble. So he put other people in a position of worry and anxiety just so that he could protect himself for things that really aren't that big of a deal. And for me, that's an issue. That's the thing that I don't want. That's the thing that I want to change. That's the thing that I want him to learn from, right? So that's the thing that I'm focused on. And that's the thing that I'm trying to teach, and that's the thing that I'm punishing for. Not only that, what else do I want? I want him to be able to manage the adversities of life, to have some emotional resilience, to deal with continuing to do things even when things are hard, having integrity, right? Making a commitment and sticking to it, having integrity, yeah? Not lying to himself about why he's not doing something or what he really wants in his life, right? Having integrity. But what I don't want is I don't want him to be overwhelmed. So does he need to do absolutely everything? Does he need to be to be weighed down with the responsibility of absolutely everything? No, he doesn't. I can take some of that off his shoulders and he can still learn what it means to have integrity in that way. So I think what I'm saying is this, in this 27-minute long, really short video, or 22 minutes or whatever it is. I don't have my boss say that anyway, whatever, right? What I'm trying to say is this: it's two things. And I think it's not just in terms of parenting. I don't think it's just in terms of teenagers or adolescents or developmental stages. The two things I'm saying is this, is that number one, if you know what your fundamental values are, if you understand those and what you're trying to achieve as an individual, what you're trying to achieve as a human being, then it's so much easier to filter out the things that don't really matter that much, that don't need that much attention, that you don't need to work on or punish yourself about or whatever, right? And number two, if you understand the stage that you're in life, in the process that you're in as a human being, in terms of your thoughts and your feelings and your body or whatever, right? If you understand, oh, this is the stage I'm in, then it allows you to contextualize the entire process so that it doesn't feel completely discombobulating, so that you don't feel completely lost in what's happening around you. It gives you a little bit of a foundation and a bit of a framework upon which to then live within whatever situation is going on. Okay, I think that's it. Something that I'm grateful for. You know what? I'm really grateful, actually, that I spent a lot of time in Callum's younger years talking to him, spending time with him, being present, being his friend, building that relationship, building that trust, and implementing these deeper concepts, these deeper ideas, so that he is malleable, so that we can have those conversations, so that he can come to me and be like, you know what? You're right. I fucked up. I lied. I was wrong. This is the truth. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about a way forward. Let's resolve this conflict. I'm so grateful that I did all of that, because that's not something that you can start doing at the age of 14. That's something that you need to start doing from day dot. I'm really grateful that even when my children were very small, I never spoke to them in that like, oh, baby, I just spoke to them like people. Like, hey, how you doing? What do you need? Let's go and do this. Let's figure this out. Let me teach you something. Let you teach me something. Let me listen to you. I think that's something else I'm really grateful for. I've always listened to my children, even when I think it's a lot of BS. I'm still like, okay, what is it that you have to say? So anyway, that is it for today. I'm going to go and get on with my move. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. My butt cheeks hurt from lifting. My butt cheeks hurt so much. Anyway, TMI, and that's it. That's it. I'm going to go. That's it. That teenager breaking your heart with their rejection, they're supposed to fracture from you. It's the only way they become autonomous adults. Drop a comment about your own teenage fracture experience, either as a parent or a child. Monday explores the psychology behind why this decade-long dickhead phase is actually necessary development.